Hey everybody!
Hey, how y'all doing? Well, Vicky's been asking me to make mushroom soup. And I know it's summertime and everybody's thinking, well, soup, it's not the time for it. But this soup right here not only has beautiful flavor, but it can be eaten cold if you want, or at room temperature. So what I've been doing when we buy mushrooms,
We break off the stems.
actually, if you look right here, hold the thing.
Yes.
So these are some stems I've chopped up. Now I got some already going that we had frozen. So I'm gonna take these stems and go ahead and put it in my pan. So again, you don't have to throw away anything. And I'm gonna get these, and what you wanna do, add a little bit more oil.
So how much olive oil have you put in there so far when you first started cooking the first batch of stems?
Probably about a third a cup.
A third cup, okay.
Yeah.
And would you say you have a cup of the stems in there?
No, actually I don't. I think I probably have about a half a cup. What do you think? That's
Somewhere between a half a cup and a cup.
Yeah. So what I don't know if y'all can see
They
this.
can see that, yeah.
So what I'm doing is I'm caramelizing them. You want to do that, get the water out. Get those caramelized. Now I've just roughly chopped some mushrooms, tops. And these right here are just regular fresh white button mushrooms. If you want them, as a matter of fact, I'm going to throw in some shiitakes as well.
Now the shiitakes we pick up at the Asian markets.
Yeah. And these are dried.
Just pick up that one.
These are dried, and I had to reconstitute them in some warm water. So I'm just going to chop those up. And you can rough chop this, because in the end of the day, we're going to blend this.
With an immersion blender.
Yes, and you can do it in regular blender. You can do it in the food processor if you want.
Leave it where it is.
So I'm just going to chop these guys up. Yep, I don't need that water. Now, sometimes, you could reuse the water that you use to reconstitute those.
But we don't really need that because you have all of those stems.
Yes.
And those stems are just like our Thanks for Coming bowl. It's just for mushrooms specifically.
Yes.
And speaking of the Thanks for Coming bowl, we have it today too. I don't think there's a recipe that we make that has veggies in it that does not have the Thanks for Coming bowl.
And on the side here, I have some parsley, which is probably about, I would say, about quarter cup. And these Asian chives, which I love.
The chive flowers?
Chive flowers, yes.
Okay. What else is on the board?
And I got some shallot and some fresh thyme and garlic. Now this is rough chopped out.
How many cloves of garlic?
2.
Okay.
And if I taste it and I feel like I need more, I'm gonna add some more.
We do like garlic.
Yep. I'm gonna have some garlic powder I'm gonna add into that, probably about 2 tablespoons. Dry white wine, any of your favorite wine, doesn't matter. I'm using Woodbridge. Woodbridge, you owe me some money. It's a Chardonnay. Some homemade chicken stock, but if you want store-bought, please feel free to get it. And when I get ready to make my roux, because I'll make everything in this one pan. And I'm gonna add my butter and I'm gonna judge this as far as the creaminess. I'm using milk.
Whole milk.
Whole milk. Oregano, probably about a tablespoon or 2, depends on how strong it is. And then also some red pepper flake for some spice. If you don't want the spice, don't add it. And where'd my peppermill go? Oh, behind me. Fresh cracked pepper.
So today what we're having to eat is a mushroom soup. We've had the mushroom stems in the freezer and we had some mushrooms that were heading on their way. So I mentioned to Chris that we should go ahead and make the mushroom soup. And when I say we, I mean Chris because he's amazing. So what he's doing right now is the stems and the shiitake and the mushrooms are all in there, letting up their water. And then after that, he's going to create a roux with the butter and the flour. And once he has that where he wants it, he'll add the milk and the spices. And he still has some mushrooms on the side for chunk, but everything that's in here is going to go through the immersion blender.
Yes. Now, these mushrooms right here, all I'm going to do is, I'm not going to cut them like super fine. What I'm going to do is just cut them up better once my cutting board gets more clear. So that way I can cut them. So that way when you're eating the mushroom soup, you actually get some chunks of mushroom versus just the broth. And don't rush this process of cooking the stems down and the tops. Let them release their water. It's going to take probably about 10 minutes. And it may look like it's starting to get too dark, but you want that caramelization. You want to take your time. Now, I haven't added any salt, any seasoning, anything just yet.
It's just olive oil and mushroom stems right now.
Yes.
And the shiitake mushroom.
And the reason I haven't done that is because I want them to naturally just release their water. If I added salt right now, it would just...
That would be like a rapid release of water, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'll be a mush, and you wouldn't get that caramelization. I mean, eventually it would get there, but you wouldn't get there.
What I like is once they start to caramelize, they sound like sneakers on a basketball court. It's an interesting sound.
So it's going to take you probably about maybe 10 minutes, depending on how much mushrooms you have in there. But if you take your time, you'll get that depth of flavor that you want. And once they get caramelized to the point, like, I'll give you an example.
Ooh, those look up.
These are, I don't know if y'all can see that.
Yes, they can see that there.
And I'm not trying to mess up my laptop. But they're starting to get to a point where they're actually starting to release their water. You're not going to see any more water in the pan. And they're just getting to that point where they're just yummy. And some of them are starting to get crispy, which is not a bad thing.
Right. We like the crisp too.
Because again,
caramelization is flavor.
I'm going to take this bad boy and I'm going to go ham on it.
And the last time that I used that, I was making the virgingsuppe and I couldn't remember the name of it. And it's an immersion blender, if you're ever looking for one. And it's super convenient because then you don't have to make your food processor dirty. You don't have to make your blender dirty. It's just one wand tool.
Yes. So now I got chunks. I got one shallot, one big shallot that I'm going to go in with.
There we go.
See, that's why I have here for commentary.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here in the background for two reasons. One, so I can smell all the goodness. And two, so I can comment on all the goodness.
Because if left me to my own devices, all y'all would get just instruction. Put this in here, do this right here, and don't ask no questions. So you want to let those go, let those get caramelized. Now I'm seeing that the mushrooms are starting to get
darker, caramelized.
Exactly.
A nice brown.
Exactly. Now I'm going to add my salt.
How much salt you think?
I'm going to start out with a tablespoon.
A tablespoon, or that looked more like a teaspoon? Let me see.
That's a tablespoon.
Yeah. Now that's the coarse kosher salt.
Yes.
I use the finer salt quite a bit, but with the finer salt, it's too salty. So you got to be really careful with that.
Yes.
So the garlic powder.
What was that old Creole chef back in the day on PBS? What was his name?
I don't remember. You're the one that watched all those shows, so.
It'll come to me in a minute. But
so
anyway.
a half a tablespoon of garlic powder.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I know my hand.
That's about a half a tablespoon, I would say.
I guarantee.
So a tablespoon of the garlic powder.
Get that in there. Let that go around. Heat's getting a little hot. I'm gonna take it off.
The chive flowers.
Then chive flowers go in.
It looks like about a quarter cup of chive flowers.
Yep. Now I'm gonna take half of the parsley I have here, and that's gonna go in now. I'm gonna save the other half for garnish.
Okay.
I'm not gonna go in with the garlic just yet, or the thyme, because I don't want it to burn.
All right. Lifting camera back up.
Okay. And it don't hurt the taste. See where you at.
You haven't added the black pepper yet.
Nope, not yet.
Okay. And when it comes to these spices, it really is a matter of taste. It's a matter of what you like. If you like it to be more peppery, you add more pepper. If you like the salinity, is that salt? Mm-hmm. Then you add more salt.
Now this is probably about a good...
3 tablespoons of butter.
That's...
3 tablespoons of butter.
Yeah. I like more, but, you know, I'm trying to be conscientious.
A little conscientious. Now, if we need a little more butter, then that's what's going to happen. But we've already got 3 tablespoons of olive oil in here, too.
And personally, I would use cream or half and half, but because we have like a quart of milk that we have not drank yet,
and it needs to get used,
I'm using just regular old milk.
whole milk.
Whole milk. Turn the heat back up.
And you turned it up to medium high.
Yeah, medium high.
He had it on high while he was caramelizing the mushrooms. And then he turned it down whilst he added stuff. Now he's adding the garlic. How many cloves is that, did you say?
Just one?
Oh,
no, actually two.
2 cloves of garlic.
2 cloves of garlic.
Okay.
And once you start smelling the garlic, now it's time to make your roux.
And you're adding the spices before you add the flour?
Yes.
Okay.
So I want them to warm up. Ooh,
So
that got hot. So that's about
tablespoon of oregano.
Let's see it right.
Let's.
What do you guess it is?
I'm saying it's about somewhere between a half and a full tablespoon.
I'm saying it's a tablespoon.
That's a half.
Oh, dang it. You got me that time. So let me dig back up in here and get a little bit more.
All right, so we've got a tablespoon of oregano.
We'll be all right. And let your garlic and your spices warm up. Gets too hot, take it off the heat. Now I'm going with 1 tablespoon.
That's a teaspoon.
Teaspoon, my bad. Let's see here what we got.
A teaspoon of red pepper flake.
Guaranteed. And you can always add more.
Yes, if you want the heat, add the heat.
Yep. Now finally chop.
How many sprigs of thyme was that? Like 4?
Yeah, about 4 sprigs of thyme.
And you take the leaves off of the sprigs.
Yeah.
Just use your finger to run down the sprig and then...
Yeah, and I can show you an example of that. So basically you just come straight down like I still have a... Here, you can come up or you just come straight down. Let that get warm. Come through. Start to smell the garlic. Now, right now I have a 1/4 cup of flour. I'm not going to use it all just yet. I want to see how thick my roux is going to get. And you want to get this to like a sandy brown color.
Like a sandy golden brown?
Yeah.
And when I think of sandies, I think of the cookies. Is that what you mean?
No,
The pecan sandy cookies or sandy like the beach?
Sandy like, what's that cookie I'm thinking of?
The pecan sandies.
Well, I use a whole 1/4 cup.
Okay, whole 1/4 cup.
So for every cup of fat you have, or it's fat to flour ratio. So if you use a 1/4 cup of oil, use a 1/4 cup of fat.
Of flour.
Flour, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yep.
It's an even ratio, 1/4 cup to 1/4 cup.
So all you do is make it a roux. And the reason I took off the heat because I don't want the flour to burn, but I want to cook out that floury taste. And this pan is holding heat just fine, so I can do that.
Some pans do hold heat really well.
Yeah, I love this right here. This has been with me for years, if you can see.
Yes.
Now I'm gonna turn my heat down.
It's medium.
Yep.
May I see?
Mm-hmm. I'm not putting anything in yet.
I'm just looking. Looks good. Now, if you don't want to add the wine, you don't have to add the wine. Is that correct?
No, that's true. That's true. I mean, you can just use chicken stock. Use vegetable stock if you want to.
Right.
I mean, you can use any stock that you like to use. But you need to have, you can use water. You won't have that depth of flavor, but it will still taste good because you get the umami from the mushrooms. And by cooking them down like this, it's an umami bomb. I've even gone as far as sometimes, instead of just adding just salt, is putting in, what am I thinking?
Bonito?
No,
Or
bonito.
seaweed?
No.
Worcestershire, Gewurz.
Worcestershire and soy sauce. Thank you.
We have too many things in the kitchen that it could have been.
And that's what cooking is
Yes,
about.
I can definitely put the camera over the pot.
So now we're going in with our wine. Now, if you're cooking over a live flame, take it off.
But we're not, so bring it back.
Because, I mean, if you cook with alcohol or anything like that, it could flame up on you. So, boom, that was, what was, I can't read that.
I can read it. I think I can read it. I can read it, but it doesn't say how much. It's one of the small bottles of wine.
It's right there.
No, baby, it's not.
Okay, hold on a second.
You know how you get the small 4-packs? That's what it is. It's 187 milliliters.
I need to get some glasses.
And he needs to get some glasses.
I can't.
So I'm stirring while he's paying attention to that.
Yeah, get some small bottles.
The small bottles. There you go.
Thank you.
Yes.
And you want to let this wine cook off, because otherwise you'll have a raw wine taste. And it's going to look like this, right now, because it's a roux. So, before I add the milk, I'm going to add some of my chicken stock, and you add it slowly.
Here, I'm bringing it back to the camera. There's a lot of movement today.
So that way it doesn't lump up on you. Just add it slowly to get that roux going. And you see the color now.
It's mushroom brown.
And you just keep adding it slowly. And you got to bring this to a boil. And I would say this is probably about almost 3 or 4 cups of chicken stock.
It's a 28-ounce mason jar.
Yeah. So that this has come to a boil. I'm done with that.
Okay.
Put it in the sink.
And once that comes to a boil,
Then I'll add the milk.
oh, so you don't add the milk when you're making the roux?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No. I don't want it to break.
Okay. So at this point, we're going to wait till it comes to a boil, add the milk, and then immersion blend it.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this should make at least, I would say, 4 servings, depending on
What your serving size is?
Yeah.
Now, do you want to bring the heat back up so it comes to a boil faster, or are you trying to...
Yeah, you can turn it back up.
Okay.
So now, these leftover mushroom tops, all I'm going to do is just run my knife through it. I'm not looking for a fine chop, necessarily.
It's a rustic chop.
But I definitely want to have,
Some chunk.
yeah.
Now, what if somebody uses canned mushrooms instead of fresh mushrooms?
Same thing. Cook them out. Rinse them off.
Yeah.
To get that canned taste off.
Yeah?
And then put them in a saute pan or in a pot, and let them cook so they caramelize. The biggest thing about mushrooms is you want to brain them light.
So I would say that that's about a cup of mushrooms for chunk.
Mm-hmm. Easy.
Yeah.
And that's about good enough for me. You know what? I think I'm going to go one step further.
How's that?
I'm going to saute those.
Oh, okay. In a small pan?
Yep.
Okay. So that they get a caramelization too.
I have a chance to bring food. Why not?
Agreed. So we're going to bring that back up.
And here in my pan, because I just decided at the last moment to saute, you see it's just enough oil to coat the pan.
Just like our 2 rules. Only 2 rules in the kitchen. Keep it clean and don't burn it down.
Exactly.
Everything else.
Now, when you're cooking mushrooms, make sure that the oil is hot. Because if not, mushrooms will absorb oil. They're a sponge. They'll absorb everything. My bad. I apologize, y'all. I'm just trying to keep clean as I
Keep things put away.
keep going.
So this recipe thus far has taken about 20 minutes. And that's once everything is chopped. So how long do you think it took you to chop and prep everything?
About 10, 15 minutes tops.
Okay.
That's just me.
If you're semi-homemade like me, it would have taken you less time. And that's why I asked about the cans, because before Chris and I got together, I used canned mushrooms, always. I had
There's
never
nothing wrong with
used. I had never used fresh mushrooms. So now your soup is at a boil and you're adding the milk in.
Yep.
Okay. And at this point, it no longer needs to come to a boil. It just needs to be...
It needs to just simmer for probably about 10-15 minutes before I blend it. But
Okay.
I'm not going to sit there and hold everybody on.
No.
We're going to blend it real quick and then let it simmer.
Yes.
You know what? I just can't make the soup without cream.
Okay, then add cream.
I mean, I know we're trying to use up the milk, but...
We got to have some whipping cream. It needs it.
Gotta have some cream.
It's necessary.
But before I do that, get me a new tasting spoon.
You're smacking. Does that mean it's good?
I like it. I think it needs a little bit more salt, though.
A little. Those mushrooms are strong.
Yes. You said you want mushroom soup?
Yeah. And I do agree it needs the cream.
So, that's how much cream I'm going to add, which I think...
About a cup?
That right
All right,
there?
that's 3/4 of a cup.
Let's add that to a wrap.
All right.
And when you add your cream, be mindful. If you bring it to a boil, you have a chance to separate it. Your saving grace will be the fact that you're going to blitz it.
So is that pan over there hot now for the mushrooms?
I'll tell you in a second. Nope.
So the heat measure in this house is if you douse a little bit of water on a hot pan, it should sizzle. If it doesn't sizzle, it's not hot enough.
That's how my grandmama taught me. My mom did the same thing. So, like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right?
Huh. You know what?
Now you're thinking.
Yeah, I'm thinking a little bit extra. So, I'm changing the recipe up a little bit. So y'all got to keep up.
And I will rewatch the video later and add some of this, what he's suggesting.
A couple dashes of Lynn Perry.
Worcestershire sauce.
Worcestershire. And if it's too rich, you can also add at the end, after you blitz everything and blend it, you can add some lemon juice or lemon zest, red wine vinegar, just a little bit, just to give it that little pop. So.
That's not coming to heat at all.
I gotta get me a gas stove.
You do need a gas stove. I definitely agree with that statement. It's gas stove time.
So these guys are ready to be blitzed. So I'm gonna put a spoon over here. And like I said, if you don't have, that's hot.
Yeah.
If you don't have a stick blender or immersion blender, then a regular blender would be fine. You put it in food processor, doesn't really matter. And it's gonna get loud, so
Be ready.
yeah. In an immersion blender, tilt your pan back and start out slow because it will
Splatter.
splatter on you.
So how do you know when it's done?
Give me a second. Give me another tasting spoon.
Let me know when to unplug.
Yes, you good.
All right.
That tastes good.
I got this.
There you go. So now, if you want it thicker, you can leave it on the stove. But let me get these mushrooms sauteed because I'm seeing smoke. And you don't have to saute the mushrooms very long, the extras.
You're just getting a little bit of caramelized
Just a
flavor.
little bit
in
of
them.
color on it. and I'm just going to add it. And I'm going to turn this pot down because you don't want it, I don't like it too thick. Now, if you wanted a thicker consistency, you can.
So I'm going to bring this over again so you guys can see what it looks like now that it's immersed. I'm trying to get some good light on there. And then in the other pan, he's sauteing the mushrooms. And once that's all done, these two are going to go together, and I'm going to have an amazing lunch. Now, you can top this with more mushrooms. You can top it with a little Parmesan. You can top it with an Italian blend cheese. You can top it with pretty much anything you want.
If you have a variety, you can top it. I'm just going to really just rough chop this parsley. We have some fresh parsley left over. Just going to rough chop it real quick. And don't get rid of the stems. A lot of people say you got to get rid of the stems, this, that, and the other. But
just chop them.
Just chop them. Because, to be honest with you, the stems have more flavor than the leaves.
Oftentimes, I just put the stems in the Thanks for Coming bowl because I do like that flavor throughout the stock.
Now, once these get done sauteing, I am going to strain off the extra oil because we don't need it anymore. And I think this is pretty thick enough for me.
I agree. It no longer needs to be cooked. So that's done and done.
How long is this video?
26 and a half minutes.
Okay. So it's not that hard to make your own soup. You know, it's basically about getting everything in place and ready to go. You know, chop up early so that way you have you're not running around the kitchen looking for stuff. And that way, when it's time to actually put the fire to the pan, you're right there, you're ready to rock and roll. And that's just how I cook. It's not just because of the video, but that's just,
generally how he cooks. He likes to have everything in place and ready to go. Now, that doesn't mean inspiration won't hit like it did with the Worcestershire sauce or when I had the red pepper flake moment. But if you get most of your stuff right there in place, you'll know that it's there.
Yep.
We good to go?
Yeah, that's pretty much
all right. Thank you all for joining us.
Hope you enjoy the soup. Hope you try the recipe. Y'all be safe, and we'll see you in the next video.